It's the Blue Collar Breakdown! Welcome to the Blue Collar Breakdown! Starting right now!
Hello, welcome to the Blue Collar Breakdown. I'm Tom Eddlem, the Blue Collar Economist. I've got a special guest for you, Sean Kennedy, who is the chairman of the American Liberty Caucus of the Libertarian Party tonight. Before I do, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Yes, I have an article coming up at the Libertarian Institute. They didn't publish one this week, at least not yet, but I'm going to be taking America's favorite libertarian to the woodshed. Yes, John Stossel. I know he's been a libertarian favorite since the 1990s, 80s, when he was on 2020, but I'm going to take him to the woodshed, at least on this one particular issue. So look for that over at the Libertarian Institute coming up in the next week or so. And in the meantime, I want to introduce, I'm going to bring him on the stage here, and it's Sean Kennedy. Sean, welcome. We're friends. We've known each other for a couple years, but let me do my best to introduce you, and then you can add to it. Sean Kennedy is the chairman of the American Liberty Caucus, which is a fairly new caucus in the Libertarian Party nationally in the United States.
Yes.
He also happens to be the chairman of the Massachusetts Libertarian Party, and he's the chairman of my local affiliate, the South Shore Libertarian Party of Massachusetts. And lastly, he is a selectman in the town of Bridgewater, Massachusetts. So he's one of the very few libertarian elected officials in America. I mean, there's a couple hundred of them, but Sean is one of those as well. What'd I leave out, Sean?
No, that's pretty much, that's the majority of it, I'd say. I got a few more things sprinkled in, but those are the big ones. And thanks for having me on. I've been waiting to come on for a little while, so I appreciate the invite, Tom.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to have more guests coming up. You're actually this is episode 20. You're only my second guest. I had my other guest was my sister. We talked about the Karen Reed case and the Sandra Birchmore case, the local police corruption. She's really into that and really knowledgeable about it. She also happens to be an attorney, which helps a lot, with these legal cases. But let's talk about the American Liberty Caucus. All right. First of all, it's a caucus in the Libertarian Party. What even is that?
So how we define ourselves is we are primarily made up of libertarians, but we did not just stick strictly with a libertarian caucus mold. And there's a few reasons for that. So what I mean by that is we're not opposed to supporting from a political action committee, from a PAC position, Republicans that may lean that way. Somebody like Thomas Massie is a great example, right? So we are made up primarily of libertarians, and we lean, typically, we're a bit more conservative on a lot of issues. And within the party itself, there's multiple caucuses. They seem to come up every couple of years. We're on the newer side. We've been around for about a year and a half, maybe somewhere around there at this point. But our goal is to assist campaigns, help the party if we can. And honestly, we've been trying to kind of stay away from some of the inter-caucus battles and wars that have happened in the party over the last few years.
Okay, I'm going to get into that a little bit anyway, or at least try to goad you into maybe taking a stand, but maybe not taking a stand. But okay, so you're a sort of like an independent group. That this caucus is an independent group within the Libertarian Party nationally.
So the party, I'm not entirely sure if any of the caucuses are officially connected, like legally, because you can do that. You can do that through the FEC. We are registered with the FEC, but we do not. We just typically lean libertarian. As you said, I'm the chair of Massachusetts. My vice chair is the chair of Michigan. We have people sprinkled around the country that are on different boards, different local affiliates, different state affiliates. So a lot of that just comes through how we started, where the original group of members comes from, and where our connections are in the political field. but we do have some Republicans in there. I'm not entirely sure if we have any Democrats, but they've gone very far off the deep end on some issues. So they're probably not going to like a whole lot of what we have going on, which is okay. But yeah, we're able to, as a PAC, and this is kind of why this works well, is political parties have specific rules they have to follow. PACs are in a different kind of sphere. So whether it's donations, supporting candidates, it allows you a lot more wiggle room. So if we do want to support somebody who we just feels like holds the right stances on issues, we're able to just support somebody like that. And it's not a problem. There is no process to go through. We're very independent in that way.
Okay. So you mentioned you sort of lean conservative. That that can mean right in America. And of course,
Sure.
my joke is, well, I'm not even joking, is if you call someone right wing, that just means there's something in your psyche that identifies with the left wing, and you oppose this person. And if you describe something as left wing, there's something in your psyche that you identify as right wing, and you oppose this person. Because I mean, there's when you talk about right and left, I don't even know how those
Right.
would be
It
defined
does
in
depend
modern.
on, it depends on who you talk to and how they define it. And so you're totally right. So what I would say to that is there tends to be a left-right split within the party itself, just like large-scale political parties. And where we would fall under something that I would say conservative is, we believe that protecting minors until they're adults from some of this stuff that's been going on in the last few years. That's more of a social contagion than it is a medical issue. Children should be protected up until they're 18, which is the legal age of right now, and not have their bodies like deformed permanently or things like that. That would be something that leans on that way. If you start going into the definitions of like a classical liberal, well, sure, we fall into classical liberal territory historically based on where that originates from. So you could view it as Jeffersonian views, things like that, people that in the party have. So what we have in our group is anywhere from constitutionalists to anarchists. We tend to stay around the classical liberal minarchist sphere of people, but we have people from all over that political ideological group and the umbrella of libertarianism. And what we try to do is, have positive conversations. We all don't necessarily agree on what maybe the end goal is, but we all kind of recognize like where we are now isn't working. And what we need to do is find a way to get and support candidates and start pushing the needle in a direction that we see as better for not just the country, but like at the local level, families. So what we kind of got together and said, we'll kind of push some of the specifics aside. We do have some regular, some issues that we're pretty straightforward on. I mean, like I just said, one of them is protecting minors.
So
Which
no
is just
trans and kids. Got it.
no trans
Yep.
and kids. That's just a common split in the party for some reason. Again, it depends on where your viewpoints are stemming from, but our goal really is to get things moving in the right direction. And whether or not we agree on, Ancapistan or local communes, or we think a classical liberal style of government, sticking to that is worthwhile. Regardless on where we're all at, we're losing to the Federal Reserve Uniparty right now, and it doesn't really matter. And like the internal bickering and this and that isn't really going to matter as much. So we pick a few social issues because it kind of separates us, and they're also mainstream American issues as well. Most Americans don't agree with certain things that are going on the left, just sort of ignoring objective reality, essentially. And what we try to do is identify a specific area in the Overton window nationally, try to put ourselves in there with libertarian ideological views, and hopefully we can start to shift things in a positive direction through finding those candidates and helping things and getting involved in places where we can get involved.
So you're saying basically that the old joke about the typical libertarian is to just go to a meeting and tell everybody else, you're not a real libertarian, I'm the only real
Sure.
libertarian. That's not what the ALC is about.
That is the exact opposite, because
That takes the fun out of it.
It does. You know what? It kind of does. You kind of can't have those battles, but in the interest of actually doing something positive, what we've tried to do, honestly, is like highlight those running jokes, right? Your purity tests, your those have their place too. You do have people that are very intelligent, well-read, and they have a great ways of explaining their positions and how things could eventually get there. And that's all great. And they absolutely have a place in the libertarian movement and the liberty movement as a whole, and all of that. Like, they really do. But politics is not, it's not textbooks, and it's not the literature 100%. You can root things in that, but you also need to understand, like, the game you're playing and what year it is. And, we're living in a country that's almost 250 years old. And, we're not starting from scratch. Like, we have a couple hundred years of history behind us, and we got where we are for a reason. So it's trying to find things within the window right now of how do we push things, what's been successful. Trump getting a popular vote was kind of a big deal. Because the Democrats are used to that. So that means that there is some want and need for some level of just common sense, and people are hoping that something will change positively, and that hasn't really been trickling down to the average American. But with some things that are, libertarians hold dear, which is like deregulation, dealing with the Federal Reserve, there's some large scale issues that are very hard to sell to the average person. But just at a local level, it's just, we're not going to raise your taxes. We're not going to allow social justice campaigns to be run through the local government. We're going to have spending that is within our means. Like, these aren't big ideas. They're very common ideas, but they haven't been actually acted on. And there's been a lack of involvement and engagement. And that's hopefully what we're able to try to affect.
Okay, that's great. Now before we start talking about where the Libertarian Party goes and how the ALC fits into it, I feel obligated to ask this question, because there are all these different caucuses, and the party is split, and I think maybe you are you're trying to bridge that split, but a lot of people are going to say, "Aha, the ALC is the new Mises caucus, or it's the new CLC, or it's the new LP Alliance, or whatever the different groups are." How would you be distinct from those? Well, maybe those three that I mentioned.
Sure. So first of all, at the moment, we have been, we've been active for about a year plus, and we haven't engaged in inter-party drama. We've actually specifically sidestepped it because it's fueling a very bad environment. So what we've done is we have chosen a path when we have a great group of people in our Discord and in our group. We have state reps, we have a board, we have a growing membership, which is great. And our goal is to, one, stay positive, to have a supportive place for people to come visit when they want to talk politics, they want to talk family, they want to talk about guns, they want to talk about food, they want to talk about podcasts. It's a community-based goal, and we are not allowing the drama to fester in our space. And that's been a huge positive thing. We've had great people come in, and they've sent me private messages saying, "Hey, you guys have a great space here. This is not normal in libertarian spheres. It's usually very trolly. It's usually very negative. It's a lot of, anti-state hate, but it spills into other stuff, and it's a negative space." So what we've done is promoted and curated a positive culture within our group. We've stayed out of the inter-caucus stuff because it's not helping anybody, and we're not going to get anywhere else than we already have been by continuing to do that. So if we're going to continue having inter-caucus wars, we're not going to grow. We're not going to benefit from this. It's just going to be a constant kingmaker strategy, trying to, crown your group on top. So when it comes to like the MC, I was never in the Mises caucus. Had I been involved in the party a while ago, when they first started, I probably would have fell in a group of people that would have agreed with their stuff. A lot of the guys I have on my board were previously in the MC. Most of them left on their own accord. Some people that I know were removed for disagreeing with different top-down decisions that were made from their board and speaking up about it. So we have a different process for handling that stuff. Stuff does go through the membership, but we have a voting system and things like that in place. And again, we're not trying to play kingmaker. So it's been a lot easier going, just trying to do positive things like, can people help a candidate? Can you help your local affiliate? Can anybody have a phone number for somebody in this affiliate or this state? Because we can't get in touch with them. It's just networking. It's a good use of those interpersonal things, and it brings people together that want to help each other, want to stay positive. And I would say, I don't want to be bashing any other caucuses, but for what we do, we stay positive. We have a great group. We don't infiltrate. We don't inject the drama, whether it's national or states, into our spaces. We keep tabs on stuff, of course, but for the general membership and even the caucus area, it's just not that, because that's not the purpose of this. It's not working. So somebody has to change it. And, as of right now, as far as I can tell, we're the only ones looking to change that.
Okay, I tried to goad you and I failed, which is fine. Okay, so one of the things I like to talk about is in 2019 in Argentina, Libertad Avanza, which is Javier Milei's party, had no members of the national legislature, House or Senate. They were polling at 0.4% of the national, I think 0.3% of the national presidential race. And by 2023, the end of 2023, 4 years later, they had the presidential office, and of course, this week they now have majority in the legislature. Do you think that's possible in the Libertarian Party in 4 years, in 8 years? I mean, how, where do you see the Libertarian Party going forward?
So, yeah, I would love to see that. Based on what I'm seeing going into 2026, no. Unfortunately, no. To do something like that, you need a really magnetic individual with populist characteristics, and there's too many libertarians that immediately hate people that come across as a populist. It's very effective in political circles, and you should give people some leeway depending on where their politics are. Obviously, there's versions of that we've seen on extremes that are absolutely horrendous. But with what we have and what we're looking to do, I don't think it is. So you also need funding. Continuing to look like a clown show at our conventions, and projecting an unprofessional appearance to the public, whether it's our public list, whether it's inter-party, interstate fighting on social media. Like, there's all kinds of things that you don't see the other parties doing, because they know it's bad PR. And for some reason in the Libertarian Party, it's become acceptable to do those things and to pick those fights publicly. And it's destructive. And there are people that just genuinely love that stuff. And they don't care if it's destructive, because they have that kind of a mindset where they basically are adults with adolescent defiant disorder. That's how they live their lives. And they're very destructive and self-destructive, and they're destructive to the party. So do I think that could happen in 2028? You would need somebody with big money to come in, but you gotta keep walking it back, right? Like, how do you get somebody with big money? Well, you probably need to at least look presentable, like wear shirts with collars at a national convention. Not now, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, we're hanging out at home, but don't show up to the national convention in like a wedding dress if you're a guy, showing your privates to children that are on the floor. I mean, like, there seems to be there's one group of people that understand, they have real jobs, they are libertarians, and they believe that those ideas are something that like the world needs, and they're feasible, like you can actually achieve them. And there's a lot of other people that use this to basically prop up their version of hedonism and whatever else they want to check into this kind of sphere of things. And their excuse for it is like absolute freedom under the libertarian umbrella. And like, that's a technicality in my opinion. And the only reason why that stuff is even really acceptable, in my opinion, is because they have the shelter of whatever you want to call America these days in the West. They're only able to do those things because it's protected by people that actually want to maintain their freedom, right? Like, so this might be, I don't know if this is like a hot take or not, but like, basically these people, they're very destructive to the party. They're unprofessional, and they wouldn't last in a true society where you can exercise your right to not associate with people. So right now we don't have that right in America, because there was a civil rights movement, and there you can argue if the benefits of that versus the overall arcing idea of not having to associate with people and things like that. And for my opinion, if you pay taxes, you should have the same access as everybody equally to the government services and the government itself and public forum and things like that. That's kind of where I sit. But when it comes to the individual things, like there's a large group that are just absolutely unlikable, not serious, unemployed, and they're doing a lot of damage. And unfortunately, they get into positions with some level of decision making within the party, and it's kind of destructive. So I'd like to see some things change. Obviously, I think that's kind of clear through that. I've brought these issues up before in front of other people, or with other people in some spaces and things. And, you know, if the party wants to be serious and have that moment and bring somebody in that's that good, they're not going to check off a purity test. They're going to need some money. There need to be a great orator, and you got to sell this, that you need to play politics. I can keep going on and on. I don't want to take up too much time.
No, that's all right. The way I look at it is, of course, I'm an economist, so I'm going to, of course, look at it from an economic perspective. But it seems to me that Donald Trump won both times on economic issues. He went to the Rust Belt and he said, "I care about you." He didn't, but somebody was speaking for them, and he, whatever his many faults are, and there are plenty of them, he did push for a tax cut that middle class people appreciated. That was, $1,000, $2,000, depending on what your income was. In his first term, he got a tax cut passed, and a lot of people basically said in 2024, well, Trump gave me a tax cut and he gave me $1,000 or $2,000, and Biden gave me nothing, and Harris is going to give me nothing. So I'll go with Trump again. And then with Milei, it was obviously they were in the economic. In Argentina, they were in an economic basket case, and they really had nowhere else to go. So then the question becomes, like, do we have to wait for the economic collapse, or is there a way to bring that it's the economy stupid message of the Clinton era to Americans today?
So I think we have a problem we have our two-party system. I experienced this during my own run because running for town council is a nonpartisan position in Massachusetts, and so you don't have a party designation. So I'd sent out flyers and information to certain select groups of people, and from speaking with a few of them on voting day, they were asking me, what party are you in? And I had to have those conversations with people and say, I'm actually not in either of those. But what they also said was, I like everything you're saying. I just wanted to know if you're a Republican or not. And the reason why I sound like that on my cards is because the issues we have in our town are not things that would relate well to Democrats, because in Massachusetts, they're fine with continuing to raise your taxes as high as they can get it, right? Because they think every problem can be solved by government. And when you're running for a local position and they're looking to raise taxes and they're looking to spend money on all kinds of different pet projects, going in and being like, I don't want to spend your money on these things, sells, because they don't want their higher taxes. They want to be able to afford their homes. So when it comes to the Trump thing, I would say 2024 is an odd year for voting. What I would look back towards is his 2016 run. That's what you would need out of somebody similar to Milei. Trump was not an established politician. He was a rich outsider, as much as you could be outside and also be that wealthy. I mean, he was a Democrat real estate mogul in New York, so he wasn't exactly a shining light of republicanism. But what he basically went up there and was like, yeah, I'm rich, and yeah, I don't pay the taxes the way that the public thinks I pay them. And why not? Well, because I get tax breaks, and they're the same tax breaks that Hillary Clinton's donors get, and they donate to her and they get the same tax breaks. So like, how am I any different than these people? I'm just going to tell you and be honest with you. Hey, we don't pay our taxes the way you guys do because we can afford to not. And, it's not like, it's just pulling the veil back a little bit and exposing what's going on. And that's what you need. And one of the things I do appreciate about Milei is not only does he completely just trash socialism as it should be trashed, because it is. He also understands that you can't flip a switch to like an ANCAP utopia. It just doesn't work. there's two, especially in our country, there's an enormous amount of people that have zero agency, zero self-agency. They will literally die if you turn the tap off immediately. So you also have people that will want to, especially in a place like Argentina, they will kill you if you suddenly pull the rug out on everybody to cut off literally every social service, everything all at once. So what he's done is he's slowly been trying to pull things back. Is it perfect in the sense of like libertarians want to see a switch to a different economic style? No, it's not. But you're also not going to see that these days because we don't live in an isolated part of the world where you can't like travel to, where you can't have international commerce. Like you're integrated in a global networking system. You still got to play the game a little bit, but you also need to maintain power. And I think what we saw in that election, when you get 44%, I think it was, or the party did, that's huge. That means that it's not only working, but it's infecting the country, right? Like it's not like they love the fact that he fired tons of useless politicians and the government workers, which is what we need here. Like, I don't know, my lights are on, my water's showing up. This whole shutdown of the government isn't really affecting me. We could probably turn on a few agencies to make sure we have like self-defense and a few things like that. But the majority of Americans aren't going to be affected by this. They're just not. They're going to continue living their lives. If the government was never turned back on until there was a catastrophic event like an outside attack or something, we're not going to know. But we pay taxes to support all the crap they want to spend money on. That's the stuff that he's cutting off. And I think that could be successful here. But, we can get into that too if you want to get into how to build that up. But you're either going to have a top-down guy like him come in and be charismatic, relatable to people, tell them, pander a little bit because you got to, right? You need a base. But at the same time, you got to give some solutions for things. Or you have a bottom swell. And I think if we were to follow Argentina's path, it would be top-down. But right now, what the party's looking to do is do a bottom-up. So the bottom-up approach is local elections are more winnable. Nonpartisan races are more winnable because our values and what we say does resonate. We don't have the right letter attached to our name on a ballot to be listened to. And we've had too many foolish people get airtime claiming they're libertarians and harming the label and the branding. That's the problem. So until you get serious people in their communities doing good things, running for those positions, talking with the public, you cannot spread that because what they see is 30-second sound bites or clips on TikTok about how foolish libertarians are.
Let me just say a word in defense of libertarians. Libertarians occasionally say stupid things and they fight with each other. But one thing they don't do is practice the open corruption that the Republicans and Democrats do. And if you look at the polling, even though Donald Trump's polling is way down, the Democrats are the worst they've ever been. The number of independents nationally is the highest it's ever been. So the American people are waiting for a third alternative. And the Libertarian Party could be that third alternative. Or it could be someone like Mamdani in New York City. But if you want an actual free market as opposed to the corporatist duopoly in part of Washington, then
no, I agree with you. Like it's basically there for the taking, but it's whether or not you want to get it together and do it. Right. That's it. It's there.
Okay. What about one thing that's come up recently is the Libertarian Party's national finances. I mean, are really bad. Not so much in most of the states. Most of the state parties are doing pretty well financially, actually, but the national party has been suffering a deficit most of the last months. I mean, this month was one of the few exceptions. Can the party's finances be fixed, and if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, you need money, right? The only way to fix money problems is more money. So you got to bring in revenue. You got to bring in people that want it, or cuts. I don't think we have any more fat to cut, from my understanding. So we kind of have a runway, or we're driving more to a cliff, honestly. And unless we have some large donors flux in, that's probably not going to be a good outlook. It's going to stay around for a while, regardless, I think. But the party can limp on for years without being effective at all. But what they're doing right now, and it is, I think, a good approach, is they are sending out mailers. They're looking back through old donation records. They're trying to do outreach in a different way, and they're trying to spend money on just outreach to grow your membership base, get more members signed up, so we stop this membership decline that we've had, which has been a slow decline for the last few years. And outside of that, eventually you're going to need to pull people in. Since I've been involved, at least, I have not seen Bitcoin money pull in. Just going to say, sounds great, decentralized currency, all that stuff. That sounds wonderful. Where are they? I haven't seen them.
I mean,
So
that's
they
one of the
also
interesting things.
Yeah, they didn't show up during the presidential run. A few people that I know that are into that stuff donated donated a little bit of money to some candidates, but there weren't big max donations. Nobody's coughing up the max donation of like $42,000, I think, to the party just to support things. And I think part of that too is no one really knows the direction of what the party's doing, and it's flip-flopped, and the unprofessional stuff going on the board is very harmful. So I think at a very basic level, it's membership growth. It's membership growth drive. Try to at least get that $30 a month, $30 a year in from members. And then, if you want to be a real player in at the national game, you're going to have to bring in somebody. I hate to say Gary Johnson, but I mean, if we're being realistic, brought in millions of dollars for his campaign. He had a big name. Was he the perfect libertarian? Absolutely not. Did he put his foot in his mouth in an interview? Yeah. I don't think that's the right guy, but if the party wants to play ball on the national level, you're going to have to pull somebody in that has a donor base. We saw what RFK was bringing in just through the states, just through the joint, what was it? The Joint Victory Fund or Kennedy Victory Fund. So the states made out a little bit of money, but we saw a lot of the big donors that he was actually getting. And truly the value of the party is ballot access. That's what the party has to offer somebody. So if you're able to get somebody who has money and has those networks and is able to be libertarian enough to bring in big money and people that are going to be helpful long-term, I mean, that should be something that does get looked at, because just trying to run the parity contest isn't going to pull in the average American, because to get there, you need to do a lot of reading and you need to be educated on the stuff. And that's just not going to happen. So you need somebody that can sell libertarian ideas in a 30-second soundbite on Fox News or on MSNBC or on TikTok or whatever. So there's kind of just two avenues. You bring somebody really big in, and you're going to have to kind of deal with the fact they're not perfect and get people on board, which is another kind of thing that is an issue. Positive, negative is our delegate process for even electing presidential candidates makes that very hard, because even if most of the party would support somebody, you need delegate support from all the states, because the states elect our candidate, which can be positive and a negative. Or you have what they're doing right now, which is, I think, the Parity Project. It's changed names a few times, but it's basically just membership growth drive and trying to get people on board and trying to turn this around a little bit so it starts to look and feel a little bit better, like things are going to go in the right direction.
Okay. That's about all I had. Well, one, I want you to be able to, before we go, I want you to be able to promote the ALC. You've got your website is where you can join, get active, donate if you want. It's what is it? American Liberty Caucus.
AmericanLiberty.info is our website. We have a basic rundown of a few issues, and you can join us through there. If you hit that up, you'll get an invite to our Discord. I know people are not wanting to be on Discord. Some people are on all the time. Discord for us is great for organizing. It's a lot like Slack, I believe. It's a bit more fun. But we do all of our organizing in there. And if you fill out our join here stuff on our website, you'll get access to our caucus area. We have information on all this in our Discord as well. So you'll get an invite, or you can just shoot us a message on X. We're on there. It's AL Caucus on X and just shoot us a message. We can send you an invite there, or at least follow us. We're in a slow period at the moment when it comes to posting and stuff. It's a slow period in general for a lot of people in politics, but I do anticipate come January, things are going to start picking up again as stuff, at least in the Libertarian Party, starts to pick up. And, we have a good group of people. We are trying to do good things. We have a candidate in, there is a Libertarian candidate running for the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm in discussions with some of their local affiliate to try to give him a hand with stuff. We've had a few people reach out in different parts of the country, and there's going to be some upcoming local races and stuff that we'll be able to help people with, because people just need a hand. If you haven't run a campaign before, haven't been involved in that stuff, it's a lot to pick up very quickly if you don't have the time. And just giving people some, a little bit of help where we are able to is a big deal. So if you want to sign up, come chat with us or shoot us a message on X at AL Caucus, and we'll get back to you, and we can go from there.
And if they want to get in touch with you as the chairman, if there are any libertarians in Massachusetts listening, they can just go to the Libertarian website.
Yep, just go to if you're in Massachusetts specifically, go to lpofma.org, and we have a contact section there. You can either, if you want to donate or join, that's fantastic. If you want to reach out to me personally or anybody on our board, we have a contact list as well. For me, it's just chair@lpofma.org. And you can reach out to me there. I'll get back to you. We're definitely looking for more membership growth there. And if you like any of the stuff Tom puts out or libertarian stuff, or you're curious about things, shoot a message. And we have some local meetings as well. We're typically active on the Route 44 South corridor around Taunton to Plymouth. Sometimes we're up in Attleboro. And then the North Shore, we have an affiliate as well. So what's the North Shore affiliate? I'm blanking on this. They're by Mendon.
Middlesex County. I say that because I'm also on the state board.
Yeah, so Middlesex County, and we're also trying to grow in Suffolk County, Norfolk County. So if you're in any of those, please reach out. We're trying to get regular meetings going, and out as far west as Worcester too. So we're in a growth period right now for the state stuff. We no longer have ballot access in the state, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what we were trying to do is get a better network and a stronger foundation of people to start moving forward again. And we can definitely get that back with enough people in our network to support it.
Okay. And, of course, with the ALS, I noticed that ALC, I noticed that you've got several podcasters in the caucus right now. You got Hector Roos doing his. You got Jeremy Ander doing the Liberty Alliance. I mean, this you got several.
We have podcasters. We have, if you want to check out Sentinels of Liberty, that's Jeremy's podcast. He runs that. He's a great guy. Hector has a podcast, which I do not know the name of off the top of my head. We've got people that do writing. With people that are doing articles, and people drop stuff in our feed in our Discord all the time. So if it doesn't get posted out on X, that doesn't happen as much. But in our feed, if you follow us and you join the Discord, you don't need to be a member to join our general area either. Stuff gets popped in there all the time. So if you just like this stuff, there's great material being dropped in weekly. And it's a good place to chat, ask questions. We do not gatekeep libertarian stuff. That is a big thing with us. We are very much accepting of people that just want to have conversations and be civil and ask questions. And that's taken a lot of work to get there, because finding those spaces online is hard. So we have a great group of people, and please reach out if you're interested in any of what I've had to say, and we can definitely talk more.
All right. And I wanted to ask you one question, because the news is pressing. Food stamps SNAP is about to expire. What do you think is going to happen this weekend? What with the checks not going out, the debit cards not being reenacted? Just, you don't have to go on at length, but give me your prediction.
Yeah, no, I think the people that really truly have problems with food security in this country know where to get food. They know where their food banks are, their food pantries, their churches. They know where to go. This is going to be a license by the Democrats for their voter base, who gets tons of social support, tons of government funded support on our dimes to go riot. because they're going to have an excuse. They're being handed a reason and an excuse to go do what we watched happen in with BLM, or any other uprising that's taken place. Any in my opinion, any attempts at like a color revolution essentially is going to be weaponized people that are being handed government things, and when it's taken away from them, you tell them it's okay to go riot, and tell them it's okay to go to the streets and burn it down. So that's what my concern is. Honestly, it's not really the single mother of 3 who's struggling. It's not somebody just lost their job. Those people are going to find food right now, and it's a great way for the individual or private entities to help people the way they want to help people, which is part of what we believe in anyways, is not the same level of government support. We believe in individuals helping individuals. So that's kind of my take on it, is it's going to be the people that are going to go out there are not going to be the people that really need the assistance.
I'll second that. I think that's good. I think there are going to be a few riots, but I don't know if it's going to be Black Lives Matter riot level. But yeah, I think Congress is going to get back in session and pass this thing and spend the money again. But yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate having you, and we'll see you around town.
All right, Tom. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. And that's our show. Tune in next week for another edition of Blue Collar Breakdown. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and also, buy me a coffee.
The Federal Reserve Bank is the evil stank on America. Stank on America. Inflation is the billionaire's tax on working folks. It taxes everything from those who have nothing, and nothing from those who have everything. The rich people's wealth it stokes, while the poor it chokes. The Federal Reserve Bank is the evil stank on America. Stank on America. Inflation is the billionaire's tax on working folks. It taxes everything from those who have nothing, and nothing from those who have everything. The rich people's wealth it stokes, while the poor it chokes. The